Hi, my name is April and welcome to the Yoga Ranger Studio. Today's Yin Yoga practice is all about giving you a little bit of relief from back pain. So whatever back pain you're suffering from, whether it be from an injury or a past injury or bulging discs, or just soreness from the life that you live right now or something that happened recently, I always recommend that you contact your physician and ask if some of these poses, and you can always show them pictures of the poses or kind of give them an idea of what they look like, whether those are appropriate for you or whether there are limitations to your movement to prevent further injury. So always reach out to your physician or physical therapist if you have one of those. One of the things to keep in mind is to try to maybe not forward fold as much. Most people suffer a lot of forward fold pain when they have like a bulging disc or injury to their back. So keeping that in mind, this practice will not include a lot of forward folds. If you feel in any practice, but specifically in this one more so, if you feel any sharpshooting pain or pain, you should immediately come out of the pose, settle out of it, take some deep breaths. You don't need to come back into it because obviously that's a pose that's probably something that's going to exacerbate your pain in the end. So just a couple of props we will need today. A block for a little bit later, a blanket for a little bit later as well. We're going to first start on our backs and just sort of pay a little bit of attention to our back. Check in. This is Patrick. He'll probably help us for a little while until he gets tired of me. So take your feet wide, drop your knees together, take your hands to your belly, and just settle into your breath. Allow your breath to extend a little bit longer on your exhale than your inhale. I refer to this as the sinking breath that helps you sink into that rest and digest, heal and restore part. And this is really where we want you to be, particularly if you are in pain right now. Take 3-part breaths. Breathe in the belly, chest, collarbones, expanding out to the sides and into the lower back. So breathe into that space right at the top of your waistband. And as you exhale, allow that space to just soften and spread a little bit. Three more deep breaths. Then walking your feet a little bit closer. We're going to do some pelvic tilts. So press your lower back firmly into the floor and then allow your pelvis to tilt away. So you have a little lift. This is sort of cat-cow on your back. Inhale, press into the floor, and exhale, lift away. Do 3 more at your own breath pace. Just getting the spine moving a little bit. Checking in with your back and your body. And then coming back to neutral, you sort of just let everything slip into place. And this is where your neutral curve and your neutral spine is. Go ahead and stretch your right leg out, your left leg out. We're going to take banana pose. So walk your feet way over to the right. You can keep heels side by side, or you can cross that left leg over the right. Inch your upper body over to the right as well, keeping your hip stable on the floor. And then take your arms up overhead, grab hold of that left wrist with your right hand, and just pull. Very gentle, soft tension here. Settle into your breath. Now, if you find that you've gone too far, you can always back out of any of these poses. Yin is like that. It's a lovely practice where you can always inch back out just a little bit, still feel, get all the benefits of it. But particularly in this class, be really thoughtful about how deep you go. More is not necessarily better. What we're trying to accomplish here today is to sort of stretch and mobilize the areas around where your injury or your pain may be in order to release some of the tension that can cause pain and to relieve some of the discomfort. Remember that sinking breath, allowing your exhale to extend longer and longer. Continue to breathe into that lower back space, right where your waistband would be. Fill that space up. Then exhale it out. You're halfway through. If you want to adjust here to go a little bit deeper, you can always press through that left heel and recross the ankle. Get a little bit more. Remember, in yin postures, you're looking for that space where you feel a certain amount of tension or kind of tautness in the area. And you find that and you settle into it and you breathe into it. Last deep inhale and exhale. Really breathe into that left side body. And then start by releasing your hands down alongside your hips. Move your upper body back to center. Unwind your ankles and just take your feet wide, arms out. Take 5 deep breaths here. Notice all the things you feel. Notice how the left side may feel very different than the right now. Maybe notice how your breath in the left side feels different. And gently start to walk those heels over to the left this time. Cross that right ankle over the left, or keep the heels side by side. Move your upper body over where you begin to feel that stretch in the outside edge. Arms up and overhead. Grab hold of that right wrist. You can look up or over the shoulder, whatever feels good for your neck. And breathe into that space. Check in with your breath. Check in with sensations you may be feeling. Just 2 more minutes here. Once again, you can press through that right heel and drop that ankle over. You can move your ankles or arms over a little bit further to the left. Really breathe into that right side body, the lower back area. These last 2 deep breaths. And start by releasing your hands first again, taking those hands alongside the hips, move your upper body back to center. Uncross that right ankle, take the heels wide, 5 breaths here. Feel the energy shifting, the blood rushing back to different areas of the body. And slowly bend your knees, bring your feet flat. And go ahead and bring your right knee into your chest a little bit. Take your hand inside that right knee and grab hold of the bottom of the foot or the ankle. So here you can kind of let that left knee drift off a little bit to the side. We're taking half stirrup pose here. Sometimes tension in the hamstrings and the hips can cause lower back pain. So we want to take a look at stretching all of the muscles on the back side of the body down into the legs to help open this area up. Let your shoulders get heavy and let that weight sort of pull that leg down. Go ahead and release your foot flat. Take a couple of breaths here. And then on to our next side. Reach inside that foot. If you have to lift yourself up, You can always stretch that leg up a few times if it gets stuck. I find that this side tends to get stuck more than the other. Let your right knee drift a little bit out to the side. And this pose is always a little bit awkward to begin with in terms of shoulder being really high off the floor or not being able to get that knee closer, but the weight of gravity will pull it down, so don't worry too much about that. You can always hang on to the ankle instead of the foot, or grab onto the shins. Just 2 more deep breaths here. Go and release that foot. Take your feet flat. Just drop the knees together. Take a couple of breaths here. So next pose, you're going to roll over and come on to your hands and knees. You come into sleeping swans. You're going to bring that right knee over to that right wrist. Take that foot over toward the left. Walk your back leg back. Lift up for a nice long breath. Inhale, then exhale to start to soften and fold forward. So you can come down onto forearms, you can stay on hands, you can come all the way down forehead to the floor if that works for you. Think about lengthening out through the spine, so almost going to pull yourself forward a little bit and then allow yourself to sink from there. Come back to that 3-part breath. Use that breath to sort of scan the body, find any places that are holding tension. I find that I sometimes grip my legs or my hips or glutes in this pose. Breathe into those spaces, release that tension. Allow your hips to be a little bit more soft and sink down to the floor. Now, if your neck gets tired in this pose, you can always take a block and prop it underneath your head. After every few breaths, just check in and see if there's another area you can relax a little bit more deeply, if the space has opened up that you can soften into. Start to press your hands into the floor, make your way back up. Come into that little back bend at the top, lengthening the spine more than actually bending back. And then shift back onto hands and knees. Take a couple of cat-cows here, dropping the belly down, just like the very beginning, settling everything back into place. Come back to center, take that left knee over to that left wrist. Walk that foot over toward the right, walk your right foot back a little bit. Come up on the fingertips or hands, lengthen the spine, inhale. And then exhale, slowly soften to the floor. Scan the body, relax those areas. Send the breath to spaces that may feel a little bit more tense or constricted. Reach out through the crown of the head, lengthen the spine a little bit more, and allow the hips to soften and sink. In this last minute, scan through and see if your breath can sort of release tension in any areas that still remain constricted and allow you to soften a little bit more deeply into this pose. Start to press into your palms and lift yourself back up. Maybe come up on fingertips. Breathe and lengthen out through the crown of the head. And then shift back onto hands and knees. Drop the belly down, cow tilt. And arch and round, cat arch. Two more times, just a soft, gentle movement of the spine. Notice where you feel this. In our next pose, we're going to come all the way down onto our bellies for Sphinx Pose. So you can bring the palms together or the palms flat on the floor. Just take the elbows underneath the shoulders. Take the feet a little bit wider. Shake the hips out so they loosen up. And then pull yourself forward like a normal Sphinx in a Yang class. Get a little traction here. And then just relax and soften into the pose. Here again, you can use a block underneath your forehead if that feels good for you. You can drop your chin to your chest, or you can keep your neck in line with your spine. That's what I'm doing here today. Sometimes a very gentle, soft traction back bend can really feel good on the lower back. If this is too much for your back, you can take that extra blanket, tuck it underneath your belly, and engage your core just a tiny bit to lift it up so it takes some of the bend out of this pose. Maybe as you go, you find you can drop your body in between your shoulders a little bit, maybe drop your chin closer to your chest. Remember to breathe deeply into that lower back, extending your exhale longer and longer with each breath. And that's going to help release a lot of the tension just from your breath. One more minute here. Now you can choose to stay in this pose for one more minute, or you can take seal pose by turning your hands out to the side, thumbs pointing forward. You're going to start to lift yourself up. Now you can straighten your elbows or you can walk your hands out further. Release your glutes because they're going to tend to want to fire here and really grip because they think they're helping to protect your back. If you find this is too much for you, please come all the way back down into Sphinx Pose or all the way down onto your belly. If you want a little bit more, you can walk the hands in a little bit closer to your hips. Let the shoulders drop away from the ears. Try to keep that 3-part breath with the extension of the exhale. Inhale, lengthen, then exhale, bend your elbows out to the sides. Come all the way down super, super slow. You can stack your hands underneath your forehead. Take a few breaths here. Rock your hips side to side. And go and walk your hands underneath your shoulders and press all the way up. So we're going to take that blanket that we had and we're going to fold it so that it's give you a little height underneath your hips, particularly for those of us with back issues. We're going to take our block off to the side here. We're going to take a right leg out to the right, left leg bent in. We're going to take our that block out to the right side. Now you don't have to use the block, but it's kind of nice to have it. Turn yourself a little over to the left and then lean over to the right. Now I have short upper arm bones, so I lean this way. If you find you just want to lean and just hang out there, you can. Take that left hand around behind you. This is usually enough, but if you want more, you can always take that left hand up and over. That'll give you a little bit more stretch if that's what you're looking for, to kind of hold your head in place. Relax your knee so it's soft here. You'll find that once that knee softens and the hamstrings soften, that the leg will sort of straighten out, the knee will soften as well. If this is still too much, you can always bend that knee a little more deeply and place the blanket or another block underneath it. Just one more minute here. If you have that left hand up, take it back alongside the hip. Press yourself back up to center. Going to bring that left foot out a little ways in front of you. Let's block over to the opposite side. You can take that right leg back behind you, if you don't have a cat in the way, that is, for deer pose. Just going to stay here for about a minute, sort of a counter pose to half dragonfly. I feel like I've had sort of a zoo walking through today. I think I've had almost every cat. Remember to sit up nice and tall and just feel as the muscles tend to release in the thighs. And go ahead and lean over to the left, bring those feet flat, windshield wiper them a little bit side to side. And we'll head into that second side for dragonfly. Left heel out to the left, right heel in. You can sit up on the blanket so it helps you tilt your pelvis just a little bit forward so you don't end up kind of scooting back and squishing everything back there. Bend your knee a little bit. Turn toward the right to lean over toward the left. This might be the tighter side. For me it is, so I bend my knee a little bit more. Hand behind you or up and over. And find that as time goes by, that knee will just descend to the floor. Breathe into those muscles that tend to want to kind of contract and tense up. Last deep inhale and exhale here. Release that right arm down if it's up and over, and press yourself back up to center. Take that right leg out. Tuck that left leg back behind you for deer pose. It's hard working around movable props. Sit up nice and tall in deer pose. Use that right hand to sort of press up toward the middle so you get a nice deep stretch here. Breathe into the muscles, release the tension. There's always a little bit more tension just kind of hiding in there. I find that no matter how much I practice, I have to mentally sort of tell things to let go. One more deep inhale and exhale. And lean over to the right. Bring that left foot back in, feet flat, and just rock those knees side to side. Lean back as much as you feel you want to. If you felt that in the lower space right around your kidneys, that is your psoas muscle on either side. Sometimes that can get very tight. If it is, or you felt some relief from that, I would really highly recommend a concept called Constructive Rest. I will put a link down below for that. Block off to the side. We're going to go ahead and come all the way down onto our backs. So remember that half happy baby we had before? Well, now we're going to take a full version of it. So pull the knees into the chest. Kind of feel how this works for you. You can grab hold of the shins or the ankles. Or if you want, you can grab hold of the feet and take this full version. Either way, find what feels comfortable for you and works for you. Some people find that when they have back pain, this full deep stretch feels really good. Some people find it really does not. If after a few breaths it still doesn't feel good, then it's probably not right for you and you can kind of back yourself out of it. You can even take your hands on the outside underneath your knees and just kind of hang out there. Just going to be here for about another 4 breaths. Maybe really inhaling deeply and exhaling deeply. Last deep inhale and exhale. Let those heels drop. Let everything sink. You can take the hands behind the knees and just hang out here. Just rock a little bit side to side. And take your feet flat. We're going to take a twist here. So take the arms out to the side, palms facing up. You're going to shift your hips way over to the right. Bring your knees into your chest and drop them over to the left. So I've left my blanket there on purpose to give me a little bit of cushion. Choices here. You can tuck those heels in really close, or you can take them out more at a sort of a squared off angle. I like to take my right hand, tap it over to my left, and then sweep it back across a time or two to help unwind the upper back. And then turn your head over to the right or look straight up at the ceiling. Last minute here. Turn your head back to center. Engage your core. Bring those knees back through the middle. Shift the hips straight down the center. Drop your knees together. Take a few breaths here. Allow the spine to unwind. And then if you had that blanket over there for your knees, you can always move it to the other side. Shift your hips way over to the left. Bring your knees into your chest. Drop them over to the right. If you roll over there too, that's okay. You can tap the palm and sweep it back across. I find that my back will adjust most of the time, sometimes not. And we'll open slowly to accommodate. Heels once again in close or far, depending on how it feels for you. You can turn and look over that left shoulder. You can even place the blanket between the knees if that works better for you. Just one more minute here. See if you can soften a little bit more into that twist. Turn your head back to center. Engage your core. Come back through the middle. Shift your hips straight down the center. Walk the feet wide. Drop the knees together. Take a few breaths here. Allow the spine to unwind. Sometimes when you have back pain, it is better to end a practice with a symmetrical pose. So what we're going to do is going to roll over to our right side. Very slowly press yourself up. You're going to take that second blanket or towel, roll it up so it's in a nice tight roll. You can do the roll the lengthwise way, which would be less of a lift if your back is really, really sore today. I like to kind of pat it down in the middle so I get a little flat surface. You're going to come down and go ahead where your shoulders are right on top of that. You're going to kind of inch your way over it so that your shoulders are flat on the floor. Now, a couple of choices here. You can take the arms out to the side or bend the elbows. You can walk the feet wide and drop the knees together, or you can take them straight out. Kind of find what works for you. You can take the hands up further if you want more stretch along the side body. Settle into your breath. And this may feel kind of shocking at first. And if you find this is too much, once again, just unroll yourself. Roll this blanket a little bit the other direction so it's not quite as tall, or unroll part of it so it's not as big a roll so you have a little bit more comfort there. Feel your back opening up, lengthening out, sort of like Sphinx Pose with a little bit of an assist here. When someone is in pain, when we are in pain, we often find our breath becoming shorter and more shallow. We find ourselves kind of curving forward and tucking in because it does hurt. And this in turn causes more places to tighten up and more pain to happen. So taking some time to sort of let yourself stretch out, release, even if it's not the most comfortable position in the world. And once again, pain versus discomfort. If it's painful, really shockingly painful, sharp shooting pain, you want to back out of it. But if it's just uncomfortable, you might want to hang out and see if that changes. Give it a little time. Really emphasize that 3-part breath here. Belly, chest, collarbones, expanding up and out and back. Each inhale, lift and lengthen. Exhale, sort of let gravity pull you down. You're more than halfway through here. Start to bend one knee at a time if they are straight. Take the arms out to the side a little bit. You're going to lift your hips just a little bit and kind of wiggle that blanket out off to the side. Come back onto your back. We'll do some pelvic tilts here again. Press the lower back into the floor. Tilt it away. And then if you'd like to take Shavasana with your feet wide, knees dropped together, you can take it there, hands on your belly, or you can take your legs out straight. Sometimes it feels more comfortable to have the knees bent so it sort of relieves some of the pressure on the lower back. If you can, take your hands underneath your hips, lift your hips, lengthen out your tailbone so it slides down towards your feet just a little bit more. Close your eyes, settle into your breath. And here again, return to that extended exhale. And now see if you can extend that exhale, double the length of your inhale. And gently notice the pauses that naturally occur in your breath at the bottom of the exhale, the top of the inhale. Maybe let those get a little bit longer. Linger just a little bit more at the top of the inhale, at the bottom of the exhale. Gently start to bring your awareness back to the space around you. If you have more time to spend in Shavasana, I highly recommend it. If this is all the time you have, begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Softly walk those feet a little bit closer together. On your next inhale, take the arms up overhead. Stretch the spine and flatten the lower back as much as you can to the floor. Lengthening your tailbone, and exhale, roll over to your right side. Take a few breaths here to pause. And gently press yourself up into whatever seated position you like best, using whatever props you want to. You can keep your eyes closed or open. Take your palms up or down on your knees. Gently lengthen your spine. On your exhale, drop your fingertips down to the floor. Inhale, sweep up, overhead, open your eyes. Take those hands down to your heart. Peace and namaste. I hope this helped relieve some of your back pain. This is definitely a practice to come back to time and again to get a little bit of a stretch through the entire back body that's gentle and kind and will give you some relief. These longer stretches help break that connective tissue up a little bit that gets really stuck together and helps kind of pull those fibers apart a little bit to give you more mobility, and to help the areas that tense up in response to pain release so that they don't make that pain worse or add more pain to it, which is definitely something we do not want to happen here. I hope you enjoyed this practice. If you did, please like and comment down below. If you are not a subscriber, please click that subscriber button over here to your right, my left, and join me for new practices every single week. Yin restorative, slow flow, and meditation, and I hope to see you again soon. Have a great day.